Welcome to a special edition of the Five Star Zone. I'm your host, Rico Beard, and Michigan State has finally made their coaching hire. They hired Oregon State's head coach, Jonathan Smith. He was flown into Michigan State, met at the airport by Alan Haller, the Michigan State athletic director, and he will begin his reign as the Michigan State head coach. Now, reason why it's taken so long to give you my opinion on this is because I was trying to wait for some dust to settle before I could jump in here. So as of shooting this on a Tuesday morning, I don't know. His press conference is going to be held later on today. He talked on the Big Ten Network yesterday. And for what I gather from a lot of people on the West Coast who have already met and who have talked with Coach Smith, he's a very likable person. He's a very honest person. He's a person that can come in and try to turn this program around. He looks at the Michigan State team and sees a lot of talent here. And his thing is, he's going to have to use the portal. They wanted to hire him before the portal, but he wants to really get high school players to become his core players. So he's going to have to hit the ground running when it comes to recruiting. One of the biggest knocks on Coach Smith was, he's not from the Midwest. But that may be true. But this is also a man who knows, and he has assistant coaches who they do have some Midwest ties. They do have luck at bringing in players and getting them to come to Corvallis, which is in the middle of nowhere. Raise your hand if you know where Corvallis, Oregon is. Most of you don't, so put your hands down. He's coming from a place where he was the second fiddle in the state. And like it or not, Spartan fans, you're the second fiddle in this state. Like it or not, Michigan is the big dog, especially right now as they're heading to their third conference championship and probably their third straight appearance in the college football playoff. If you're Michigan State, you're Jonathan Smith, you have to try to end that reign. You have to try to bring in that talent, and that's what he's going to try to do. Now, he wants to try to keep the core players here. Like I say, he wants to try to build core players. He also knows he has a talented roster, but the roster needs some improvement on it. Now, here's what happened. Now, yesterday, on Monday, a lot of MSU players jumped into the portal, including Caden Hauser and Sam Levitt. A lot of offensive linemen. So I was kind of wondering what happened. So I called a current player on the team and just asked what happened in that meeting. And the player told me, because I was like, did he walk in like Deion Sanders and say, I brought my own luggage. And my luggage is Louis, meaning I got my own players here and you guys can hit the bricks. And then it was like the antithesis of that. It was the exact opposite. He said, no, he came in and he was very nice. And he said that he realized the state had talent, that it was going to be open, and that he was going to try to figure out and find the best people for the job. So I don't know why the mass exodus yesterday, unless a lot of the players just decided that maybe I need to find out what my best options are going to be. A lot of names that went into the portal for MSU doesn't mean they're going to stay in the portal. It just means that Coach Smith is going to have to re-recruit some of his players, but these are the players keeping their options open. But it was just kind of ironic. So I needed to know what happened. So that's what happened. He didn't walk in there. He didn't walk in and try to kick players out. These players just decided they wanted to see what their best options were going to be. Players pull their names out of the portal all the time. Heck, you saw that earlier this year with number 8. And he went in, and then Simeon Barrow said, I'm deciding to come back a couple days later after he talked to Coach Izzo. And even though he knew this team wasn't going anywhere, he went out there and gave his all to the Penn State game. So going to be interesting to see who sticks around and stays. Also, who's tried to petitions for an extra year. A guy like Mangum, the running back, the older brother, is he going to try to come back? Because I think he would be an asset. Now, if you are Coach Smith, you probably need to find a burner running back. Now, I don't know if you go back and try to re-recruit the player that decommitted from state or if you go out and hit the portal. Because with the portal opening up, there's going to be a lot of names available to him. Now, if you want to try to get the quick fix, you're going to try to hit that thing hard, especially because State's going to be losing a lot of players. But overall, as I stated, when I look at this, I think that Michigan State got it right. The fact that Alan Haller, the athletic director, I was texting with him after the hire. I was texting with Alan, and I had to applaud him because for the first time ever in Michigan State history, things were kept quiet. Things were kept under wraps. Information didn't leak. You didn't have board of trustees out there talking about this and talking about that and holding press conferences. They held press conferences, but it was just to snipe each other. Had nothing to do with the coaching search. That was a beautiful thing. The fact that people were kind of in the dark, and he made sure that only the people who needed to know knew. And that was a handful of folks. Everybody was scrambling. Why was that important? It was important because in the end, he got his guy on the same day that most coaches were having their Black Friday, firing coaches. He was hiring a coach. And yeah, I knew that Coach Jonathan Smith was getting hired on Friday. But what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to put out the information because I didn't want a rehash of what happened with the original John L. Smith when his players found out during the game. But a person really close to me who was, kind of in step with everything that was going on told me. And I was like, okay, you're bringing him in. I look at what he does. And Jonathan Smith, he's a guy that, how can I put this? His coaching style is very aggressive. If you like some of the things that Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions coach, does, you're going to like Coach Smith. He will gamble on fourth down. He will go for it. He can be very aggressive. He also has an offense under Brian Lundgren, who looks like he's going to be a part of his staff. That offense runs motion offense. And what is motion offense? Well, if you watch the San Francisco 49ers, if you watch the Miami Dolphins, if you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, that's the offense that they run, where it's basically let's run a lot of pre-snap motion. Let's try to find a mismatch. Let's try to find the best available person and get that person open. They also will try to come in here, zone block, and run the ball and try to jam it down your throat. That's what you're looking forward to for this offense. And it is a big step away from what we've seen in the Jay Johnson offense for the last couple of years, if you are a Spartan fan. So I look at what he is bringing, and right now, I don't know if it's all official yet, but he's bringing a lot of people with him from the Oregon State staff. Now, I know the big one is, okay, well, what's going on? Is he bringing his defensive coordinator with him? And as of now, we don't know, because as of now, the D coordinator, his name is still up for that job. His name is up for a couple other jobs. So we have to wait to see what happens with Coach Bray. Coach Bray could go to USC. Coach Bray could stay at Oregon State, or Coach Bray could end up coming to Michigan State. I think for him, it's what can get me to a top Power 5 job the fastest. Got to be honest with you, probably USC would be his best option because they're going to have a lot more talent than Michigan State has. And we'll get to that talent thing in NIL in a second. But a name to watch out for with Caden Hauser and with Sam Levitt going to the portal. And Sam Levitt went to the portal because he basically said that, look, Coach Smith didn't recruit me when I was coming out of high school, and why would he want me now? For Sam Levitt to say that if I knew that if Coach Smith was getting this job, I was leaving, tells me that something happened. There was conversation taking place between Sam, his family, and Coach Smith, that something got taken personally. And Sam is just like, nope, I'm out. I don't want to hear anything he has to say. And I got to give a shout out to David Harns and Spartan Illustrated for coming up with that information and getting that information from Sam Levitt. But Sam said, no, I'm done. I'm out, and I'm not coming back. Caden Hauser, he was the first quarterback to jump in there. The reason why I wonder, maybe they know something we don't. Keep an eye out for Aiden Childs. He was the top-rated quarterback ever at Oregon State. He got into the games and played some. He backed up DJ Ungalele, and I think I said that name right, but he backed him up. He got drives in the first and second halves. He's a dual-threat quarterback, 6'3". I said top-rated quarterback Oregon State has ever had. Look out for him to transfer and come into Michigan State. If he does, I think he will be the starting quarterback. He knows this offense. I don't know how many other people that will leave Oregon State, but just something to keep out for that guy coming in, because especially when both quarterbacks jump into the portal, it tells me that he's probably on the way and they know something is about to happen. Also, I thought it was interesting that Noah Kim, you have not seen his name. And if I'm Noah Kim, maybe I stick around because you already have a scholarship. Power 5 school, Michigan State, Big Ten school. You don't know what the future is, but with new coaching staff comes new opportunity. He got injured earlier in this year. He's been around for a long time. If I'm Noah Kim, maybe you just realize I can stay here. And if worst case, I'll be a backup, but I'm on scholarship at a Big Ten university. Maybe he sticks around and stays. So as far as NIL goes, I think for Michigan State, the money is there. If anything, Mel Tucker showed me that when you win, they can find money. When Mel Tucker went 11-2, all of a sudden $100 million was found for his contract. The NIL packages got boosted up, and you saw all types of people getting paid. I don't know if initially all the dollars will be there. It's kind of a chicken and the egg type of situation. But eventually, if this team starts winning, I think that's when you'll see a ton of money coming in. I think there will be NIL dollars. I know there is money for the assistant coaching pool because John C. Smith, I'm probably going to do that a lot. John C. Smith got a lot of money for his coaching pool. That's why he brought a lot of his coaches with him. There's names to watch out for. Another name to watch out for if they don't get Coach Bray is DeAnton Lynn, the defensive coordinator for USC. I think that they would pivot and try to go after him to bring him in. He had a very aggressive defense for UCLA. Had a very aggressive defense for UCLA. So that is a name that you want to watch out for in case they do not get Coach Bray. They could pivot to him. As I said, as we know, they're still waiting on a lot of people. A lot of the staff has been interviewing. From what I gather, Coach Hawkins, the wide receiver coach, is interviewed with Coach Smith. Also, Harlan Barnett has interviewed with Coach Smith. I think for Harlan, it's just more of a what place and what capacity will he have. And I don't know if it'll be with the current team or if he gets kicked up and moved over to the athletic department. But I think that he will have something to do with Michigan State because Harlan was a good soldier. Harlan had a job that really was he was set up to fail. He did the best that he could. He got players to play when they knew they had no shot at a bowl game, but they were out there at that Penn State game and really got the job done. And as a matter of fact, not only do I want to shout out the players for really showing up for that Penn State game, but there's also Spartan fans because with nothing on the line, 50,000 people were inside of Ford Field that holds about 60,000 people. And this was a team that only won 4 games. This was a team going up against Penn State, and this was a team that got annihilated by Penn State. Shout out James Franklin for still being aggressive when the score was 42-0, but yet you always cry when people do it to you. But this Michigan State team doing that tells me that they're probably going to have more games at Ford Field because the crowd reacted, the Detroit alumni reacted, and they really went out there and they wanted to watch this team. So that is something that you want to keep an eye out for. But going back to Coach Smith, as I stated before, good hiring process by the athletic department and athletic department director, AD Alan Haller. He is somebody that I think can come into Michigan State. He's working with a school that was second fiddle in the state. He's gotten people to come and transfer and gotten recruits to go out to Corvallis, Oregon. I think he can do the same from in East Lansing. He's going to hit the ground running. Will it be an instant impact kind of big splash hire? Probably not. If you were expecting Urban Meyer, I simply say this: don't shortchange Coach Smith simply because he's not Coach Meyer. Don't not like him because he is not Coach Meyer, because when you look at the home run hires rarely work out. I know they feel good for the fan base for the initial couple 6 months, maybe for the year and a half or so. But after a while, when they don't win, people turn on them. Scott Frost at Nebraska was a home run hire. He was a native son. He led them to a title game as a quarterback. They fired him. They fired him after 4 years because he wasn't getting the job done. You look at Lincoln Riley, and right now USC has some buyer's remorse as they gave him everything, including this beautiful house. He had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. They're not sniffing the college football playoffs. Again, Jimbo Fisher, taken from Florida State. Florida State, they've been trying to find that guy. Now, Texas A&M fires Jimbo, and they go after Mike Elko, the Duke coach, and they land him, another guy who was in the running for Michigan State's job. Home run hires, I say that to say, don't always work. You don't get 7 years the way Michigan gave Jim Harbaugh. Any other team would have probably fired Jim Harbaugh, but they stuck with him, and eventually he turned it around. He got it done. I don't know by hook or by crook, but he got it done. If you're Michigan State, you got a coach. You got a coach who can come in here. He knows what he's doing. He looks at this talent on this roster. And I think probably the biggest thing that he needs to do is he needs to make sure that certain guys stick around and stay. Jordan Hall, the linebacker, the freshman linebacker, is one. Another guy, I will say, if he could get him to, and basically to walk in here and say, I need you to believe in me. I need you to lock, I think it's Brian Wozniak is the tight ends coach, is Malik Carr. Malik, give me the next 9 months of your life. Let me get you in shape. Do what I say. I can get you to the league. Unfortunately, Michigan State realized how much of a weapon Malik Carr was at the very end. Starting in that Iowa game, he took over the game. He's an automatic mismatch. If you're Malik Carr, I would seriously consider sticking around one more year, dedicating yourself to this staff, to yourself, and to this team. I think that you and Nate Carter would become the number one weapon. You're going to get an offensive line who actually know what they're doing now, offensive line who will block. You'll have a passing game. You'll have a running game. And I think with Malik Carr coming in, you saw the spectacular catches. I think that this man could elevate himself into a high draft pick in not this year's NFL draft, but next year's NFL draft. So that would be the biggest thing that I would try to work on, is keeping Malik Carr here, because I think he's one of the positive assets that this team really kind of squandered over the years. So as I stated, good hire for Michigan State. I like what I see. The more and more I read about Coach Smith and his potential staff coming in, the more I think that this is going to help Michigan State. They're going to become a force again, because remember, if you're Michigan State, now the key is you want to be a top 15 team. Why top 15? There's going to be a 12-team playoff. If you're a top 15 team, that means you're going to be in a playoff hunt to the final week every year. Some years you'll get in, some years you will not, but you'll allow yourself to be able to be one of the big boys, because now it's going to expand past the 4 teams to 12 teams. This is a school that it's top 20 in revenue, top 20 in attendance. You can be a top 15 team. And with his aggressive coaching style and with him bringing his staff with him, I think this thing could turn around. Now, the biggest thing is you land a quarterback. So you got to see what's going to happen. You got to see if Aiden Childs is going to make it here. A lot of quarterbacks went into the portal, but I think Aiden Childs is the guy that they're probably going to target right now. You're going to hit the portal hard probably this season, but after this season, I think you're going to see a lot more of him going after high school recruits. So I just wanted to jump in, and like I said, his press conference will be later on Tuesday. He's going to get introduced to the Spartan crowd at the Spartan basketball game Tuesday night. But as for now, that's the latest on Michigan State's new head coach, Jonathan Smith. I think he's going to be a good hire. I think he was a good match for Michigan State. I think Michigan State was wise to do the process early so that they're not working out of being desperate and getting a coach, because I think that's how you ended up with Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker was taken because there was nobody left, because Mark D'Antonio left in the last second of the year, last second of 2020 or 2019, or whenever he left. Kind of 2020, left Michigan State high and dry. Mel Tucker comes in 2020, and he has to do what he has to do. You did your search, you did your homework, you brought in Coach C. Smith, and I think this John C. Smith will be a good hire for Michigan State. All right, I'll have Howard Griffith on later on this week. We'll break this down a little bit more. We'll also talk about the Michigan-Iowa Big Ten Championship game. Spoiler alert, Michigan's going to win. But for now, I'm Rico Beard. Thanks for watching the 5 Star Zone. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep telling your friends, keep commenting on this. And guys, I'll see you later on this week.